G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because everybody knows the Rugby World Rankings, the #1 most important sports ranking in the entire world, is broken. And, I am a bit of a nerd, so I'm taking my time, as I did every year, to fix the rankings, right? I've taken everybody and reset everyone's rankings and recalculated everything to make sure that we are fair and balanced for the year of 2024, and we can finally say which team is the #1 ranked team in the world and which team is absolutely the worst of the year, right? So, yes, you can take this rankings and brag to your mate about who's actually the #1 ranked team in the world in 2024 for good. Now, with that being said, let's have a look at the presentation that I've compiled for everyone. So, yes, as you can see that the Rugby World Rankings 2024, I've reset it and recalculated everything. So some rules just want to go through so you can understand what I've actually done. So I've reset the points a little bit different from previous years. I've actually separated all the teams to different tiers. So teams in the Six Nations in the Rugby Championship are starting out with 85 points. Teams in the Tier 2 competition, which is the Rugby Europe International Championship and the Pacific Nations Cup, are given 80 points to start with. And all the rest of the teams that are not in these competitions are given 75 points to start with. Now, the reason I do this is because the fact that the teams in the Tier 1 competition do play more games and more tougher games. So giving them a bit extra points reflects the level of competition they are facing. And also just the fact that sometimes you have these matchups where a Tier 1 nation goes to, let's say, North America, Scotland, and they can just farm 10 points if they were put to the same level at the same starting points, and then you have Tier 1 nations that are inflated because they have been given a lot of easy matches throughout the year. So that wouldn't happen. The gap would be too big for them to earn any meaningful points should they go to a Tier 2 nation for a tour. And yeah, so that's basically why there's a gap there as well. And also it rewards the teams that play well against Tier 1 nations. So teams that upsets a Tier 1 nation will get a huge jump in their points, and thus punishing the Tier 1 nation as well, losing a lot of points, losing to a Tier 2 nation because the gap that are given at the beginning with. So that's why I have set it in this way. Otherwise, it's just going to be, you're just going to have a Tier 2 nation that hasn't played many games at all, ranked at #5 in the world, which wouldn't be appropriately measure of how good the skills are. And this year as well, I've actually used the World Rugby ranking formula, which means you have the home ground advantage of 3 points, and also I've taken out the 3 points home ground advantage for neutral venues. So don't worry if he says it's home team, if this at a neutral venue, I've taken that out. So you just ignore the tables, what they say. And then also that this is the exact formula that is used by World Rugby World Rugby. So there will be no, there's no there's like a cap on how many points you can earn per game, but I've actually removed the cap. So if you get a big win over a Tier 1 nation, you can get unlimited points as a result of it. So it's not that's the only thing I've changed, but that hasn't been an issue at all. There's no blowouts, huge upsets that led to huge swings in points above the limit anyway. But I've actually taken the limit out if it were to happen. Also, there was, if any teams that plays against the A teams, like the Wallabies A team or the All Blacks A team or Barbarians or maybe the Maori All Blacks, all of those games are excluded. So even if your national team competed in those, that's not counted towards any points. So that just to make sure that you don't have, again, not to inflate anybody's stats in that regards as well. So obviously this is not 100% fair assessment, but this is probably as fair as we can get in terms of getting a accurate world rankings for the year of 2024, because the fact that some of the Tier 1 nations probably don't deserve to be in Tier 1 nations, and some of the Tier 2 nations probably deserve to be in Tier 1, and they started in a bit of a gap. So some of the teams probably had to work up a little gap, and some of the the bad teams in the Tier 1 nations probably had too much of a buffer to begin with, which led to teams that are probably should have been further down in the pack, a bit higher, and some teams that bit lower in the pack should have been a little bit higher. but not given because of the starting points, may have given that a bit of an unfair reflection there. So I will let you know. And also the scheduling is quite important. Like I said, if teams like Scotland goes on to play, North America for July, they're gonna, even with the points adjusted, they're still gonna get quite a bit of points. Just because of the scheduling, and also sometimes depends on when you win and where you win. Really plays into how many points as well. For example, if you win at the end of the season, tends to reward you more than if you're winning at the beginning of the season, because at the end of the season, especially against top teams, they have more points to lose, so you can actually get a bigger swing on your rank ratings if you win like later in the season as opposed to in the middle of the season. I guess it's good to win at the beginning of the season and it's good to win at the end of the season, but in the middle of the season there's a lot of like shuffling around, and still the timing of the winning could make a bit of an impact. But hey, it is what it is. The scheduling is it is actually better than I think in previous years. They have given more teams opportunities to play, so a lot of the teams that in previous years only get like 5 games in an entire year has been given almost 10 games in most of them this year. And I know you will see it as well in the rankings. There are a lot of new teams that you didn't even make the Rugby World Cup has made in the top 20 list as well. So yeah, you'll see some of the teams has been given more opportunities to play rugby all around the world throughout the entire year, and I think that it's really, really good for real rugby in terms of promoting the game, especially in the lower tiers, in tier 2 and tier 3s. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at who is going to be the number 20 place of the entire rankings. Coming number 20, it's going to be Poland. Yeah, the team that did not play in the Rugby World Cup, but they are given an opportunity to play in the European Nations, I don't know what they call it, European International Nations Championship, and that is under competition, basically just below the Six Nations, and they actually did quite poorly in that. In the championship, they lost quite a few, but they were able to pull themselves together towards the end of the season in autumn, getting a couple big wins, got themselves into the top 20. So really well done there. Again, this is just an opportunity for some of these newer teams to get themselves into the rugby arena, so to speak, and I think it's a good start for them. So coming up next, big result. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hey, if you're Welsh, hey, don't turn off this video. Don't dislike this video, okay? I promise you it's gonna get better. I promise you it's gonna get better. Wales lost every game of the season, albeit they do have a pretty tough run. They didn't really given any easy tier 2 matches at all. They had one match against the Queensland Reds where they won, but I shouldn't be counting that towards their overall score. But yeah, they're by far the worst performing team out of all the nations, tier 1 and tier 2. They're actually lower than most of the tier 2 nations, despite starting with an extra 5 points buffer of the ratings. It's pretty bad. Yeah. Hey, I guess if you're a Welsh fan, Warren Gatland has delivered the results that everybody wanted, right? It's all red, right? It's all red, and I'm pretty sure that's your favorite color. So at least Warren Gatland has delivered something that everybody was looking forward to, red across the board for the entire team. But yeah, the one thing I thought the Welsh was a little bit disappointing is the fact that they actually started Six Nations really, really well. If you have a look at the Six Nation results, almost beating England, they almost beat Scotland there just by 1 point there. And then, then they just kind of fell off a cliff. They lost to Italy at home, and then things just only got worse. Losing to the Wallabies as well in Australia, losing to Fiji at home at the end of the year, massive result there, and then just was never able to get back to what they had kind of going at the beginning of the season. The really close loss in the first 2 games gave, I think, a lot of Welsh fans a lot of hope that Warren Gatland has maybe found something, maybe just a tiny bit tuning away to get themselves in that winning column, and they just never being able to find themselves there, and they just completely crumbled. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing for the Welsh fans. Yeah, finishing off at number 19 in the total rankings. Coming in number 18, it's Romania. I think they ranked 20 last year. So coming in number 19 is Romania. Again, they've been given more opportunity to play in the European, tier 2 league, and not the most consistent performance. Couple wins early and then just fell off against the more stronger teams in the competition. Had a bit of a run in July test in North America as well, and then in autumn finished quite strong, 2 wins out of 3, and put themselves at the number 18 spot ahead of Wales. So yeah, next up we've got coming at number 17 is the United States of America. Another team that's had a pretty rough start actually of the season. They really struggled at the beginning in the Pacific Nations Cup as well. They were struggling pretty much throughout the entire season, all the way till autumn. In the end of the year, they really pulled themselves together, strung themselves 3 wins in a row towards the end, and yeah, getting themselves just in the number 17 spot on the table here. Again, finishing strong for them, something that's a lot of the American fans will be quite pleased about. Looking forward for next year's Pacific Nations performance. Coming at number 16, it's Belgium, another team that has been beneficiary of the expanded rugby universe, multiverse, right? They had a on and off performance. You can see win loss all the way for the entire year. Consistency has been an issue. They lost to Brazil, this one. In fact, this might be a mistake, so let me know if this actually happened. This might be a women's game, all right? And you know, if this was a women's game, I apologize, because the World Rugby, you know, the sexist scumbags that they are, have decided that the World Women don't sell, you know, tickets. So they've taken the World Women out of all their, like most of their material. So it just says like Rugby International, right? And then it's like, it's like a women's scam, and you can't tell because, you know, it's like the Women's World Cup. They just call it the Rugby World Cup because women don't sell tickets, right? According to World Rugby, the sexist scumbags, you know, and then, you know, it's frowned upon to have that in your title. So let's take that out and just call it the Rugby World Cup as well. And, you know, it's yeah. So if that is the case, I apologize, but it shouldn't really affect the ratings too much. In fact, it'd probably be higher if it wasn't for that. So yeah, finishing 78.85, and yeah, Belgium. And coming number 15 is Eddie's Balls. Yeah, Eddie's Balls actually could have been a lot worse, to be honest. Eddie's Balls, he has a pretty horrendous season. They started pretty poorly in the July test, just getting annihilated. Even the Georgia game at home, probably people expected them to win that. They only had a, you know, reprieve in the Pacific Nations, as they were put in the same pool with Japan, USA and Canada, and then they basically had a nice series of wins there, getting a few nice boosts to their points, only to finish the season quite poorly as well, against any sort of resemblance of a tier 1 nation. Fiji also absolutely hammered them in the final in Japan. This was a home game in Japan, despite this says that Fiji is the home, but yeah, despite this, yeah, this is actually a home game for Japan as well. Big losses there. Yeah, they're finally finding themselves a bit of win at the end of this year against Uruguay, but yeah, pretty poor. If it wasn't for these sort of like easy inflated matchups here, Japan will be way down, maybe not even make the top 20 if it wasn't for the easy matchups against, you know, against Canada and the USA earlier in the Pacific Nations Cup. So yeah, Eddie's Balls not looking good. Had a bit of a breather mid-season, but yeah. Number 14, coming in Portugal, another team that's had a pretty decent season in the European Cup, but finished off quite poorly of the year. They were looking quite strong overall, couldn't quite get over their arch nemesis Georgia in the final. But yeah, started a bit of a shocker, lost to Belgium, but then pulled themselves together, couldn't quite finish it off against Georgia, and then at the end of the, you know, towards the end of the year, obviously can't beat the Springboks, but in the Autumn Nations as well, lost to USA, probably a big shock in there. Should probably won that one, especially at home, and then losing to Scotland, probably was everybody was expecting. Didn't quite finish as strong as they could. 80.497 is the final score for Portugal. Coming number 13 is Spain, a team that was kicked out of the Rugby World Cup last year for having, you know, imports that were not qualified from South Africa. But yeah, Spain having a slightly better performance overall than Portugal. Not quite as good in the European, international, what do they call it? European Nations International Cup Championship. That's the name. It's pretty long. In that one, so they were like okay there, but kind of finished off the season in a nice high note towards the end there, I guess. Big win against Uruguay and a big win against the USA, something that the Portuguese lost to the Americans. So that was probably literally the difference. The match against the United States at the end of the season will sort the team up and down with the 2 rankings at the end there. And coming in at number 12, this was a team that performed exceptionally well, as you can see in this picture here. The massive upset for Samoa to beat Italy. Man, my goodness, they had an outstanding season. I probably want to see them play more games throughout the year, but they have just been, the few opportunities they were given, they absolutely hammered it to the best they could. Now, beating Italy in the opening match, a massive start of their season. And then, losing to Fiji, which is, a team that's really, really tough overall. And then I lost to Japan as well in the towards the end. That's not the Rugby World Cup warm-up. That's the end of the July series. In the end of the November series. But yeah, a bit of a cough up there against Japan. But outside of that, outstanding season overall. 81.43. They haven't played that many games for the season, so their points are a little bit inflated. So should they have been given a few more games against, a few more tier 1 nations, they probably will be a bit lower in the overall rankings. But hey, still, given what they've got, they've done really, really well to get themselves on the number 12 position. That Samoa was number 20 last year overall in the rankings. So number 11 coming is Georgia, a team that won the Europe championship. Let's just call it that. So they won that championship, you can see here, and overall they are probably the best performing European tier 2 nation. I would say tier 2 nation overall. So quite a nice win streak, winning the European championship, losing to Fiji, which is a big bit of a surprise. They played really well against the Wallabies in July away, despite the loss, beating Japan. Finished off the season with a loss to Italy, and then the win against Tonga, 82.72. Considering that they started at 80 points, they were quite a bit above what they started with a really, really nice results. Now we're getting to the top 10. The big names are going to come in, the big tier 1 nations, and the coming number 10 spot. I think a lot of people will be very, very, very surprised by this, but it is England. Yes, England is at number 10 in the overall rankings in 2024. Steve Bothwick has not done a good job towards the end of the season. England was actually looking okay. There was a bit of an outside chance for England to win the Six Nations despite losing the Calcutta Cup after upsetting Ireland. So all they had to do is kind of like beat France, and I think Ireland had to lose to Scotland right at the end for them to actually have. They actually had a very long outsider's chance to win the Six Nations. But from there, it was just all downhill, beating Japan in a nice little warm-up in July test, and then just getting hammered 2 tests in a row. England is like one of the teams where you almost feel like one of the things where you toss the coin and the coin just landed, tails every time, like 5 times in a row, right? That's basically what the England season felt like. Like they could have won these games against the All Blacks, 15 points to 16, 17 points to 24. Like you just feel like if they just done a tiny bit differently, they could have won these, but just couldn't quite get there. And then losing to All Blacks as well, 22 points to 24 at home at Autumn. This was actually Autumn game. This is actually an Autumn game here. You just feel like if they had just rolled the dice a little bit better, could have won there. Versus Wallabies as well. Last minute try against them. Again, felt like a coin toss that they lost. 4 coin toss loss in a row against the Springboks. They probably outclassed a little bit the English team, looking a little bit deflated there. So yeah, it just literally felt like it's really, really bad luck for 4 or 5 games in a row. Really hammered the England's overall rankings to the bottom, and then finishing off with a little win over Japan. 83 points, the number 10th on the spot. Still higher than Wales, I guess. Not the worst tier 1 nation, but not very good for an England fan to be here. Especially Bill Sweeney has such a big paycheck, right? Coming number 9 is the Wallabies. I'm really, really, really happy that this man, Jorgensen, he has won the Wallabies ahead of England. What a legend at Twickenham. Good times. So Wallabies coming in at number 9. And also you will notice as well, the Southern Hemisphere teams, especially the Rugby Championship teams, play more games. than the Six Nations teams, and that is one of the big difference in terms of point. Like the Wallabies had to play fewer games, they probably would have been lower in the rankings. But yeah, the Rugby Championship teams plays about 3 to 4 games more than the Northern Hemisphere teams on average. So yeah, Wallabies a pretty poor season in the Rugby Championship, only winning one game against Argentina in a bit of a miracle win there in Argentina as well. Had a nice start against Wales and Georgia, but yeah, then finished off. I guess the highlight of the whole year was against England at Twickenham. Nobody expected that. But the Wallabies delivered what everybody wanted, and then yeah, close loss to Ireland at the end as well. Quite nice there for the Wallaby fans to kind of dream about the possibilities of a Lions tour, not getting swept 3-0. And yeah, Joe Schmidt has done a great job this year. I thought the Swat Lee selection was a bit of a risky one, but hey, he did a great job. I think bringing in Swat Lee, getting him accommodated to the rugby union, and not getting sent off. Probably got away with a couple of those shots this year as well. But hey, it is what it is. I take it. I'll take ahead of England at number 1 rankings any time of the year, and just by hairline as well. I just a couple of decimal points there that made the difference between the Wallabies and England in the overall rankings. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on. Number 8 is Italy. Yeah, Italy had a really good season this year. They had some outstanding performances across the board. They draw with France in France, which actually yielded them some points. They beat Scotland as well. I don't know how Scotland lost that one. Beat Wales. So 2.5 wins in the Six Nations. Quite a decent start, only for them to lose to Samoa. It's probably the only trip over there. And then, yeah, nice win against Tonga, Japan. A bit of a trip up against Argentina. Nice win against Georgia. And a decent, I guess, performance against the All Blacks. So overall, not that bad of a season for the Italians. I think they probably, yeah, compare the fact that they've got flopped by the All Blacks by 96 points last year. To turn that around to only a 29 point to 11 deficit, it's a pretty good effort. And yeah, just there was the fact that they did not finish a wooden spoon in the Six Nations was quite an outstanding achievement for them. And they probably could have been higher if some of the wins and losses for the other teams were to play into their favor a little bit. Like Scotland could have been 5th and they could have been 4th should some of the other games had gone their way. But yeah, it's a really outstanding season for the Italians this year. Again, just a couple decimal points ahead of Australia and ahead of England. All 3 of these nations were 83 points overall, and yeah, not bad for Italy. Coming number 7 is the big result for a lot of the Fijian fans. Yeah, number 7 for Fiji. I was trying to say something like Tosso Fiji Tossa. Is that how you say it? But yeah, really well done. 85 points, considering the fact that the Fijians started with 80 points because they're T2. So they actually gained so much points. They surpassed well within the range of the Tier 1 nations. And yeah, this was just outstanding performance. So they had a pretty tough season as well. Played against the All Blacks, lost that, but they were by far the best Tier 2 nation. Anytime they play a Tier 2 nation, they won all of that, and then they just couldn't quite get over the hump against Tier 1 nations. So they lost against Scotland pretty badly, I think. Lost to All Blacks pretty badly. Lost to Ireland pretty badly. Had a nice little win over Wales, which, I mean, Wales is pretty bad, but still, first time against Wales outside of Rugby World Cup, and first time in Cardiff. Pretty big win there for Fiji. So yeah, outstanding season for the Fijians, winning the Pacific Nations Cup over Japan as well. So yeah, completely deserved it. 85.32. Yeah, by far the best performing Tier 2 nation overall. And if they had started with 85 points, they could probably be close to number 1 in the world if that was the case. But then again, like I said, they haven't played the same tough opponents Tier 1 nations have played. So if they played all Tier 1 nations, would they be at 85 points, even given a start at 85? Probably not, considering they've lost pretty badly to the All Blacks, Ireland, and Scotland. But hey, it's definitely a good sign that they're very high at the top end of the Tier 2 nation there in the overall. Coming up next, number 6 is Argentina. And right here, this man is leading the charge for the Argentinians. Albernos, he has been outstanding for the Argentinians. Ever since taking over the number 10 jersey, he's just lighting up the Argentinian attack on fire. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. He's spectacular. He's outstanding. And he's the one that ironically made the mistake that cost the Argentinian the game against the Wallabies in the Rugby Championship. But Felipe Contepomi said that he backed him and he delivered the results that that everybody wanted to see. Argentina, really tough round. They have to play against, really tough and hold themselves together. 1 win, 1 loss against France in July. And then, 1 win against the All Blacks in New Zealand out of the 2 tests. And 1 win against the Wallabies. Let one slip. Probably could have been 2-0 there over the Wallabies. Again, against the Springboks as well. 1 win against the mighty Springboks at home by just 1 point. Just outstanding achievements there. Just toppling giants left and right. Couldn't quite get there in the final stretch for the Rugby Championship. But if they hadn't stumbled against the Wallabies, they would have been well in reach to win the championship going to the final game against the Springboks. But yeah, couldn't quite get there. And then in the autumn, tough games, beating Italy, losing to Ireland, losing to France, top 2 European teams in the world. Not by too much, still a good effort. And I think that this is really good sign, good direction for Argentinian fans to go forward, especially the 2 games against the All Blacks and the Springboks. I think a lot of Argentinian fans will be looking back at this year and just really, relish that sweetness, over this year that the team has brought for them. It is really nice to have those moments for any team. Coming in at number 5 is Scotland, the team that you can say that had a bit of an easy run in July. Farmed a lot of points in the Americans. Didn't have the best Six Nations. They started really well, only to lose to Italy and then getting pretty much losing to Ireland as well, and then got themselves back into a lot of positive points in July, and then finished up quite strong as well, only losing to the Springboks, the mighty Springboks. But overall, even if it wasn't for the July test, the extra points, they'd still be pretty high up in the overall rankings because of how well they performed against in the Autumn Nations as well. So overall, not too tough of competition for Scotland. Pretty big win against Fiji, but they really hasn't had too much of a challenge this year. But hey, I think Scotland is definitely looking again, they're building towards something better, and I think Six Nations next year will probably be the year for them to really show how much they've grown. Or are they going to go back to that Calcutta Cup hangover problem where they win against England and then just feeling like they've accomplished all they needed to do for the entire year and then just fall off a cliff? Hopefully we don't see that again next year, and we'll have to see how that goes. Coming number 4 is the mighty La Resistance, the French. Even without Antoine Dupont, they still managed to scramble together themselves. Pretty solid performance this year. So Six Nations, not the most ideal. 1 loss against Ireland at the beginning. 1 draw against Italy, probably the most embarrassing one for them. They've lost points despite the draw. And then pretty stellar performance following that. There was 1 loss against Argentina. There was 1 loss against Argentina in July test, and that was pretty much only 2 losses this year. When Antoine Dupont came back, the French was back on fire, beating Japan, flogging Japan, beating the All Blacks by 1, and beating Argentina as well. Once Antoine Dupont was back, the French was looking a lot better. But despite the shakiness, they still, only 2 losses in the entire year and a draw. Not really anyone can complain about this performance. It is outstanding. Just a little bit of a polishing up to do here and there, and they will be just fine. I just noticed about the camera is probably blocking a little bit there, but to be just fine there. Yeah. Next up, we've got number 3, Ireland, Mr. Andrew Porter, the biggest, baddest man in the Irish team, and he's just Iron Man performance every year. In my opinion, every game for the Irish team, and I think his efforts is outstanding. Not the most clinical at the scrummaging, not most clinical overall around the rocks, but just consistently huge effort all year. Can't really say anything bad about that, Mr. Porter. But hey, let's talk about the Ireland team overall. 88 points 88.616 overall points. 3 losses this year against the toughest of the toughest opponents. The one that probably let them slip a bit is England. They probably should have won this one. Twickenham lost a drop goal in the dying seconds. Oh boy, I guess they lost that one, leading Frowley to come back with the drop goal against the Springboks. I guess that's a 50-50 trade-off there. But yeah, this was not the most, without Johnny Sexton, despite the overall dominance of the Ireland team, just not quite as dominant as they were the year before with Johnny Sexton was in the team. Definitely, if you look at the Springboks match, losing the first one and then coming back to win the second one with the drop goal was pretty clutch. Again, the probably most disappointing one for all the Irish fans was losing to the All Blacks at home. Very, very sloppy performance this one was. Lots of drop balls, lots of silly mistakes, and then the All Blacks just controlled the game and slowly and surely chipped away the scoreboard and won. Outside of that, pretty much, pretty stellar season overall. Beating Argentina, beating the Wallabies, beating the Fijians to finish off their season. 88.61, number 3 ranked team in the world. Now coming in at number 2, could you guess which team it is? It's only 2 teams left, but it is the mighty, the undisputed, the greatest team ever. Just kidding. It's the All Blacks. It's the All Blacks. Yes, the All Blacks. That's coming at number 2. Again, one of the things that you might notice is that the Southern Hemisphere teams play way more games than the Northern Hemisphere teams. So that extra few games that they play adds more to their points. And I guess that is why we win the World Cups, right? If you play, 3 games extra every year over the 4 years leading to the World Cup, you are playing like 12 extra games than the Six Nation teams, right? So 12 extra games, that's a whole season, like a whole year. A team is probably going to play 12 games. So they basically had an extra year of preparation than the rest of the Six Nation teams. Of course, they're going to win the World Cup. The Southern Hemisphere teams win the World Cup. That is just maths. You play more games, you're going to win. You're going to win more consistently. And the All Blacks are once again probably not the greatest of the seasons, but they delivered the results that that needed to be delivered, and got them. And again, just by playing more games, they were able to get themselves accumulation of a lot of points, and getting themselves in number 2 spot. I think that 50-50 there against England could have lost there, coin toss there. Losing to Argentina at home, losing to Springboks back-to-back, and losing the Freedom Cup, pretty painful. Only for them to slowly but surely claw themselves back against the Wallabies. Build themselves into the Autumn Nations. Beating England, beating Ireland is probably the cherry on top for all of their performances. Probably could have been the French team here. 50-50 coin toss. Again, it is again something that the All Blacks could work towards, and finishing off with the Italy win, closing themselves right at the second on the overall ladder at 90 points, 8-4. And finally, the number 1, the undisputed, the reigning, the defending, the greatest Springboks team, probably the greatest team ever, under the tutelage of Rassie Erasmus. Dr. Rassie Erasmus is the mighty Amaboku Boku, the mighty Springboks coming in number 1. An absolutely outstanding season. A couple of hiccups against the greatest teams in the world. And outside of that, the Rassie Erasmus has not only delivered the results that everybody was looking for, but also brought in new talents. Sasha Fanberg and Gomez Zulu, Apalele Fasi, like a plethora of young talents has been given an opportunity, and the wheels has not come off. The team has carried on strong throughout the entire year. Different strategies were shown, different attacking style, no longer just the kicking game, no longer extremely heavy on scrummaging, and overall, it's outstanding season again for the Springboks, and I think that Dr. Rassie Erasmus will be pretty happy at the Christmas party this year, celebrating the achievements of the team. Losing to Ireland at the time was number 1 ranked team in the world. Were they number 1 ranked? No, number 2 ranked team in the world. That was a really tough game at home. Sorry, I actually got this wrong. This game the third game that they lost, the second game they actually won. Sorry, let's go back one. Oops. Let's go back one. So yeah, the second game they actually won. So this game here, they actually won this one. This one they lost. But it's very, very tough. July Test Rugby Championship as well, winning the famous Freedom Cup from the All Blacks. It's gonna be it's tough. You have to win 2 games in a row to win the Freedom Cup. All the All Blacks had to do is win 1 out of the 2 games to retain the cup, and the Springboks denied that for the All Blacks this year. You know, a lot of people like to criticize Ian Foster for his poor coaching last 4 years for the All Blacks. The All Blacks did not lose the Freedom Cup at all during those 4 years to the Springboks, despite, you know, playing back-to-back games in South Africa. You know, Ian Foster was able to deliver 1 win to retain the cup, and it is just, you know, outstanding effort for the Springboks to finally get that back in their home soil. Losing to Argentina in a bit of a coin toss there as well. Just really, really tight games that they lost. You know, both of these losses against Ireland and against Argentina were by 1. Could have gone either way. And yeah, like really, really tight overall. And then just stellar finish of the year in the rugby, in the Autumn Nations. And yeah, really tough games as well. Scotland, England, Wales, winning all of those in a row to finish off the season. So yeah, like really, really well done, Springboks. And I think a lot of you, you know, South Africans will be really, really happy about this one, right? And yeah, looking forward to the Springboks bringing us something new entertainment next year. And yeah, so here are the final rankings overall from 1 to 20. And yeah, take a screenshot if you want to see the rankings for yourself and the points. And thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And looking forward to see you guys, you know, next year for the rugby. And let me know your thoughts on this, all these things. And let me know if you're surprised about any of these results. And thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.